Hi, it's Mayor Walter Sendzik here in the city of St. Catharines, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home with Mayor Sendzik. As we've kicked off the new year, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful 2018, and I hope you have a prosperous, peaceful, and very joyous year ahead of you and you're with your family. 2017 was a great year at the city of St. Catharines. There was a lot going on in our community. And it's just so much energy that's coming out of the city. And whether you're in the north end, the south end, you're in the east end that we call Meriton, or the west end, there's just a lot going on. And so this year is going to be an important year for our city as well. There's a lot of developments that are taking place. You're seeing on Ontario Street, the new old Hotel Dieu is becoming a new building, a new residential building. You're going to see activity on Queenston Street with the old General Hospital is going to be coming down. There's a lot of plans in place in Port Dalhousie, which is causing and creating a lot of discussion that's important for us as a community to be a part of. And in other parts of the community, you see businesses that are opening and you see businesses that are growing. And so there's a lot going on. But at the center of some of these developments, we have a very important institution in our community, and that's Brock University. And it's great to kick off 2018 with a friend of mine, someone that I've come to get to know, and a new member of our community, and it's the president of Brock University. Dr. Gervan Fearon is joining us today, and it's wonderful to have you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I say that because our interactions, even over, you've started in September as the president and vice chancellor of the university, and really you've ingrained yourself into the community, not just the student body, but the community as well. And what has been, I guess, what has been a surprise? So for those watching at home, Dr. Gervan is from, I'm going to say Brandon University is where he's come from as where he was president and vice chancellor. And I'm going to go through his resume, but I just want to start off. What's been your perspective of St. Catharines, Niagara since you've been here for 4 or 5 months now?
Well, a number of items that I've learned and been a part of. Part of it is just seeing how vibrant the community is and how committed. I think every single individual I've met within the community, they're committed to the growth of the city. They're committed to being able to see a community be vibrant, welcoming to individuals like myself who are new to Niagara and new to St. Catharines in particular. I had the opportunity early in my life of growing up in Ontario, so very much someone who loves Ontario. This region is just an outstanding part of the country and so on. But being able to live here now, it's also starting to become aware of some of the incredible facilities and some of the incredible things that's within the city. Our family now lives within St. Catharines, and we thought of living somewhere where we could walk downtown and enjoy that part of the lifestyle. And quickly we discovered that we were next to a mall, we were next to some athletic centers, we were next to so many facilities that make quality of life here such an amazing place to live.
And I was going to say, and I was going to blame you for the cold weather we've been having because you brought it from Brandon, Manitoba. Minus 20 here, we're not used to that. You must have been used to that in Brandon, Manitoba.
I was absolutely used to that in Brandon, Manitoba, and I was told, amongst other things, the parts of the ad that this is the warm area of the country and how during the winters you actually have beach parties and all those kinds of things and surprise, surprise, there's been a little snow. But I also think that this is Canada, this is Ontario, and this is part of the quality of life that we enjoy, and winter is a part of it too. So it's all been very good.
Well, we can leave the cold in Brandon. You were there since 2013. You held the position of president and vice chancellor, and also as provost and vice president from 2013 to 2014. So you've got a wonderful background in academic learning, but also at the highest level of administration. And prior to that, you've been involved at Ryerson, York University, and the University of Washington.
Yeah.
So what was the role at University of Washington?
Yeah, so I did my sabbatical at University of Washington. I was a visiting scholar at University of Washington. And maybe to add, just in terms of, I know you touched on my academic side, but as well, I spent about 12 years in government. So
Yes.
I spent 10 years with the Minister of Agriculture. And through that opportunity, being able to take a look at the impact of, let's say, the grape and wine industry, taking a look at the broad agricultural sector and its role in the province, and as a result being in St. Catharines and in the region, seeing how agriculture plays a significant role. And another part of my career is spending a couple of years at Treasury Board. And as a result then, I really look towards the idea of universities playing part of not only community development, but as well as regional economic development. And that's something that I think that's a role that the university has played. It's when I think of some of the things that's happened downtown in terms of the revitalization, it's been a part of that and been a catalyst to that. Yeah. I think that's a great role we can play in, have played in the past, and I think that's something that we can build on for the future as well. So really looking forward to those kinds of activities that we're hoping to do.
Well, and you've got quite an accomplished background. You have your PhD in economics from Western. You've got your master's and bachelor's degree from University of Guelph, and you hold a Chartered Professional Accountant certification, CPA, CGA designation. And so you really bring there's a strong understanding of economics, numeracy, the importance of financial numeracy, and your role in government, in addition to your administrative roles that you've played at different universities. So taking all of that and approaching it to an institution like Brock, what's the vision that you're starting to set the course of for the institution?
It's interesting when you look at my background. I can tell you there's that part, but throughout my education experience, I had the pleasure of working in a factory. I worked in a sheet metal factory all the way through university, and worked on a farm by way of example, and done a number of other things. And I think that connection of higher learning, innovation, research, the types of things that traditionally we look for at a university, I think those things are important. But as well, being able to have the university connected to individuals within the community such that we're making a difference to their lives. Mm-hmm. So it could be making a difference because we've got an outstanding library and a community member accesses that library. It could be that a company within the region is recruiting someone, and a part of their story as to why they should live in the region, why they should live in the city, is they can say that you've got a great university that you can access, whether it's yourself in terms of continuing education, professional development, or maybe your children in the future and the like. So I want us to be a university that's really connected to making individual lives better, and individual lives better within the city and within the region, where everyone across the region can actually say, when I think of Brock University, I've been a part of it, and I'm a part of that story as well. I want it to be a lived experience that we're a part of in building the region.
So you're at Brandon, and it's minus 40 out. And minus 50. And you see this come across your desk. There's an opportunity in a city called St. Catharines at a university called Brock. And what was the attraction for you to move from a similar position at Brandon to say, I want to take on, I believe I have the skills to take this university here? Mm-hmm. What was that thinking? What was that thought process?
I think I'll put it in three settings. The first item, when I saw the advertisement, when I became aware of the position and the likes, the first thing that actually went through my mind was my early experience with Brock. And that was my high school experience when I was thinking about doing history. And Brock had an outstanding military history program, and as a result, I thought about Brock in that sense. So I knew across the province that it had a substantial role and statement in terms of student experience, in terms of excellence in education, and being a part of that story and being a part of that institution then was motivating. The second item is that in many respects, Brock reminds me of universities that can play such a significant role in the transformation of regions. Lots of regions across Canada, across the US have gone through transition in terms of economic up, economic down, and then in that transition period. And the ability of universities to be partners, not only with the city, with across the region, with business, with government, and others, and being able to say we're part of building greater communities and part of regional economic revitalization. I thought that was something I could bring to the table. You pointed out on my economics background, my government background, my industry background. I thought the combination of those items was a part of the piece of the missile puzzle that I could plug into the university and then assist the university and the community in being able to contribute to that. The third item that I would say is that when I look at the history of Brock, and I took some time to learn about the history of the institution, this is a very unique university. There are not too many universities that can actually point to the community to say it's a community that was the reason for the university being established. And I think in that sense, that tie between the community and the university was very inspiring. And that's exactly the way I see universities and the role that universities can play. So for me, it was already a university and a community that understood that relationship. Right. And in that sense, it wasn't something that I needed to create, but something I could be a part of and take my skills and knowledge and contribute and almost be a servant leader in that process.
And it's interesting because you touched on the economic impact and the regionalism of Brock within the region, and I think a lot of folks over the arc of history of Brock at a certain point found Brock to be a bit of a distance from the communities, not just St. Catharines. And in the past decade, with significant investments in our downtown through the Marilyn I. Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts and the investments at Brock, Brock proper, I'll call it, is the Bioscience Center and the BioLink, and also the integration to stretch out into different communities has really started to bring that community aspect back into the role that Brock is playing and can play in strengthening the economy. And so it's larger than it ever has been. And and you know, when you look at Brock 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was 10,000 enrollment, 9,000 enrollment. Now
now we're at 19,000. There are 2,000 employees. So you think of that footprint, we're a community, a university community of over 21,000 individuals in terms of the economic spillover. That's significant employer, significant economic spillover, and I think those kinds of considerations are warranted, are important to note. But I think your point about universities, and it's not just Brock, but universities across Canada, across North America, the tendency to start to look inward. And we've got excellence in terms of teaching and learning. We've got excellence in terms of research and scholarship and creative activities and the likes. And some of those things can pull us inward. But I think the best value of universities is when we make a connection between those items and the communities with which we serve, with where we're located. But I think as well at times, some of the things that we're doing almost are so seamless that individuals miss that kind of contribution. If you take a look at almost any not-for-profit board across the region, across the city, you'll find a Brock member on that board. Yeah. If you take a look at the volunteerism of our students, they're out in the community volunteering and doing all kinds of amazing activities. We've got one of the best co-op programs in the country in experiential education. So our students are out contributing to businesses, to community organization, to municipal government. They're out doing those things. Our professors are doing research, and that has significant impact. Covey, for example, in terms of some of their research, research have contributed a lot.
We're going to touch on Covey. Because I think there's a lot of developments that are just under the radar, and I want you to, when we come back from the break, I want you to touch more on what makes Brock unique. Hi, and welcome back to Our Home with Mayor Sendzik. Thank you for tuning in. We're learning all about Brock University through the vision of the new president, vice chancellor, Dr. Fearon, who is joining me here today. The whole episode is about Brock University, Brock's role in our community, but also where Brock's going as an institution. It is arguably one of the most important institutions here in Niagara, from an academic standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and from a social standpoint. And the impact that it has and the touch points in so many parts of our community really is an important part of who we are as members of St. Catharines and Niagara. Just before the break, we were talking about some of the centers of excellence, I'll say. You were touching on some of the cool climate, oenology, and viticulture programming. So talk a bit more about that, because I think from the public's perspective, maybe we don't hear about a lot of the areas that Brock has become known for. So why don't you touch on some of that?
Sure. And why don't I start exactly where you pointed me towards, and that's Covey.
Yep.
And when we think of Covey, some of the economic impact of their work, $91 million in terms of economic activity within 1 year, over 300 jobs directly attributable to some of the work that they've done in 2006 alone. Recently, some of their work have attracted a $1 million commitment from the Ontario government, and part of the reason why is because of the leading research that they're doing in terms of using visualization, using augmented reality in a respect to be able to take a look at how we improve the competitiveness of that industry. And that's just one item. In the area of cancer research, we've got researchers who've done some leading work in terms of testing for cancer. I'm, for your audience, for others, and so on, I'm a cancer survivor. That's absolutely meaningful to me, and I know to many individuals across the community, across Canada. So that kind of amazing research touches on almost every single family, and that's being done right at the university. And in terms of our business program,
a lot of people don't, and I want to say, because a lot of people don't know that we have a very strong chemistry program.
Absolutely.
And a lot of research that's going into nutraceuticals and some of the other aspects of what chemistry does. That cancer side is really an area that I think our community needs to be more proud of. Because when we talk about where does the money go when it goes to cancer research, even the Terry Fox Foundation, of which you were walking last year in the Terry Fox walk in St. Catharines at Brock University, you noted that funding from that foundation goes into Brock University.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an example of the tie, the linkage between community and leading research. Our business program, for example, through the Goodman School, just an amazing amount of work that they're doing. I think there's some things that they're really well known for in terms of accounting, but simultaneously this year or last year, this academic year, a number of students got together and they had a conference on data analytics. 150 students showed up. And a number of individuals from industry and the likes looking at what we're doing in terms of data analytics. And that will become increasingly important in terms of competitiveness of our retail sector, in terms of the way we look at data and link that even in terms of healthcare. Our nursing program. Our nursing program allows us to be direct partners with the health system across the region. We also, some unique relationships that we have at the university. We have a unique relationship with McMaster University in terms of having one of the sites for medical education right here on campus. And as a result, students applying for medical education to become doctors at McMaster are now identifying Brock as a location where they want to be. And what impact does that have? It means that those individuals training through that program tend to stick to the region, and that helps the quality of life throughout the whole region. Just a wide range of programming. You mentioned chemistry. Our physics program is outstanding as well, in the arts, in the science, in the performing arts, all very notable programs. And as a result, on the teaching and learning, there's a really strong history and body of knowledge that identifies Brock as an outstanding undergraduate university. Well, in recent years, we've actually moved up that ladder. We're no longer an undergraduate university, and we're actually a comprehensive university. And what does that mean? We've got more graduate programs that can serve students in the region as well. We've got more professional programs. We've got more leading edge research and scholarship and creative activities going on. But we're not abandoning some of the relationships that we've got with community as well. So we're moving all those items on each of those fronts. And I think over the next little while, what individuals should look towards is really watching the university in terms of what we'll do in terms of moving research forward. We now have a new vice president research that's just recently joined, and that'll become a major thrust for that individual. Right. But there are other things. We've got the Brock Links project that's coming on board. That's an outstanding initiative, over $20 million being put in space that not only our students but individuals across the community who are looking at the idea of an incubation space for moving ideas all the way from ideas to actualization to commercialization and hitting the ground with businesses. And that's a role that universities can really play as a focal point for bringing ideas to the forefront that creates economic activities, creates jobs, but also links the knowledge within the university to deliverables in that sense. What we're doing with Canada Games, we're a part of that, and really proud that we're a part of that incredible initiative that St. Catharines, I know, is a part of as a city and the entire region. And that's something to be celebrated nationally, not simply locally.
And that's what we're talking. We're talking about Canada. For those, when we talk about Canada Games, it's the 2021 Games that's coming to Niagara, and Brock is a focal point, a center point for the games itself as well, and they've taken on a leadership role and wanting to be a part of this. And I think it ties in well with your role as a leader in the community on a number of different fronts. But I got to say, you're also number 2 in men's basketball. So I don't know if you brought that experience, because this is your first year as president. You got number 2 men's basketball this year in Canada.
And that's right.
We got to be able to knock off Carleton. There's got to be a way.
That's it.
Hopefully you've been able to give the team some advice on how to knock off Carleton. And the women's basketball program under Ashley is doing amazing.
That's right.
The hockey teams are playing well, and the wrestling is
always outstanding.
Always number 1 in Canada.
That's right.
And I bring up
excellent lacrosse as well.
Excellent lacrosse, and they did well. And I bring up that they lost in the finals this year. I bring up that because it's also that sense of pride that you bring to our community as an institution. Brock University, when you see the basketball program or the hockey program or the wrestling or whatever it may be, or lacrosse, when they're number 1 or number 2 in the country, that's other parts of the country looking and going, wow, Brock has a strong program in basketball, whatever it is. And it attracts students. It also brings us as a community a lot of pride.
I think what you're touching on there, and just on the academic side for a moment, and you asked me about some of the outstanding features of the university, sports management. How could I forget that? Yeah. And that builds on the athletics program as well. But one of the really wonderful things that's come to the community is seeing how connected we are. So I've been able to get out to a number of activities and parades and the like, and all those items effectively says locally Brock is here, we're part of the community, but then at a national level, some of the things that we're doing bring attention to the region, and that attention that university can be a part of. I think that when we take a look at the economy and we look at where we are for economic development, increasingly it used to be that what would happen is that economic investment and capital investment would follow resources. Where are the resources? That was a scarce item. So you're looking at the mining sector, timber industry, and so on. Or then manufacturing. So where's the lowest cost inputs? Yeah. Well, today, when you take a look at where capital investment, where industry is going, where jobs are going, it really is where talent is. And we're part of that talent pool, creating and fostering the talent pool. And so every time that we're on, whether it's sports, and someone then gets a recognition to say, well, you've got the number 2 team from that university. Where is that university? And then they start looking through our athletics program at what we're doing in research, at the talent that we're putting out. Then all of a sudden that puts us on the map. And what that does for the region, what that does for the city, that interest that may start off with athletics actually moves all the way to someone saying, let me find out more about that city, let's find out about the talent there, and let's see if we want to make an investment or even visit. So all that plays together. So all the parts of the university play together in building a great university, and also contributes to what we can do for the community as well.
Now, we've talked about economic development a lot today, but also through our interactions, our conversations. And you touched on manufacturing, you touched on primary resource development, mining and forestry, and really where the economy is moving towards today. And I think really what I want folks to take away from part of this conversation is the next generation of economic development is all about human capital.
That's right.
It's no longer about punching steel, but it's about the capacity of those who are creating the goods through idea generation, through commercialization of research. And just briefly talk about the strength of the infrastructure at Brock University for Brock to play a critical role, and as they say, filling the pipeline with the human capital that's going to be the strength of our economy moving forward.
Yeah, I think some of the things that often might not even be known as some of the labs that we have at this university, unique across Canada. Some of the research being done in psychology, for example, and health sciences, unique across Canada. So as a result then, we're really providing the kind of strength to our students in terms of their critical thinking, their problem-solving capacity, the ability to look transdisciplinary. What I mean by that is that where ideas come from and where the solutions come from don't necessarily have to only be in the field that you studied, but you can look across different fields and bring those ideas as solutions to different opportunities and to being able to add value. So in some senses, I think that what we're really keenly focused on is being able to add to the talent pool, being able to add to the human capital as you described it. And we recently opened up, for example, a career zone at the university. And part of the idea is to be able to create a space where students can come in and explore different careers and explore how they can match what they're learning in the classroom, what they're learning in our labs, what they're learning broadly at the university, and match that to the needs of industry. And when you talk to industry and you ask them, what do they need? They start describing, yes, they need those core skills in terms of being able, if it's in computer science, in terms of coding, yes, we need that. Yeah. But we also need these other skills, these soft skills of individuals being able to work as a team and work with others and be able to see the connection between the organization and community development. And those kinds of experiences, we're also building that for our students. So just a really broad base of what we're doing.
And I think it's a great way to wrap up this episode, because it shows how important Brock has become to our community, business, to the community, to the social agencies, to everything that's come to define us as a city and as a region. So I look forward to being a part of the next 5 years of the programs that you're going to be working on, the vision that you're bringing to Brock University. Our community is right there with Brock as it continues to grow in its importance, not just here, but across the country. And so I hope you've learned a lot about where Brock's going under the leadership of Dr. Gervan, and you're going to see him a lot out in the community, out and about. Feel free to say hi to him. He's a very welcoming individual, and I think we're in good hands with the university. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful winter season. Get out there, enjoy all that makes St. Catharines a beautiful city, and I look forward to seeing you out and about as well. So thank you for tuning in.